In the universe of Final Fantasy VII, the labyrinthine corridors of identity are as critical as any epic battle. Central to this narrative are Cloud Strife and Sephiroth, whose lives are dominated by the roles they've assumed or have been thrust upon them. What happens when a person not only wields a weapon but becomes one? What ensues when identity is as much a tool of warfare as any sword or spell? Let's unravel these questions through the lens of Enneagram and archetype, beginning with the core motivations that drive these iconic figures. Cloud Strife, often identified with Enneagram Type 6, is a study in loyalty and anxiety. At his core, he fears being without support or guidance, a fear intensified by his fragmented memories and existential uncertainty. Cloud's desire for security and stability propels him into the arms of the mercenary life, where the rigid rules of combat provide a semblance of structure in his chaotic world. His survival rule, trust no one but yourself, emerges from a life where betrayal and loss are constant threats. Yet this very rule becomes his gift, his ability to adapt and survive against overwhelming odds, an echo of his deeper allegiance to those he comes to love. In stark contrast stands Sephiroth, embodying the archetype of the shadow, complex and compelling. He represents the unacknowledged aspects of Cloud's psyche, the dark mirror reflecting his fears. Sephiroth's core motivation, often aligned with Enneagram Type 3, is to be admired and recognized, a desire born from his origins as a genetically engineered prodigy. His fear of worthlessness and insignificance drives him to seek power beyond human limits, transforming him into a symbol of both divine aspiration and profound alienation. The formative ecosystems of these characters are as influential as any sword or spell. Cloud's world is one of military hierarchy and corporate power, shaped by Shinra's oppressive regime and soldiers' elite ranks. This institutional backdrop trains Cloud's strategy of self-reliance and wariness. Meanwhile, Sephiroth's upbringing in the sterile labs of the Shinra Corporation isolates him emotionally, feeding his eventual descent into megalomania. The class systems and family legacies in this world offer little solace, compounding the pressure to conform and excel. Relationships play a pivotal role in shaping these identities under siege. For Cloud, figures like Tifa and Aerith offer glimpses of vulnerability and connection, challenging his defenses and activating his latent wounds. These relationships reward his strategy by providing the very trust and acceptance he longs for, even as they reveal the cracks in his armor. Sephiroth, conversely, finds his sense of self affirmed by the adulation of those who see him as the ultimate warrior, yet this only deepens his detachment from humanity. As we trace the chronological arcs of these characters, each turning point is a testament to the power of their core motives. Cloud's journey from a self-doubting mercenary to a reluctant hero is marked by moments of revelation and collapse, each linked to his fear of inadequacy and his desire for belonging. Sephiroth's evolution from hero to villain is similarly wrought with the tension between recognition and destruction, as his godlike ambitions lead him further from the humanity he once defended. The interplay between shadow and growth is a dance that defines their paths. Cloud's growth is visible in his ability to integrate the disparate parts of his identity, turning his shadow of doubt into a source of strength and empathy. This flexibility allows him to transcend the rigid survival rule that once constrained him, opening the doors to genuine connection and purpose. Sephiroth, in contrast, becomes trapped in his shadow, unable to reconcile his human origins with his celestial ambitions, leading to his ultimate downfall. The themes of empires and crystal mythology, so integral to the Final Fantasy ecosystem, serve as a backdrop for these personal odysseys. War, memory, and body transformation are not merely plot devices but echo the internal struggles faced by Cloud and Sephiroth. Their shared history and divergent paths create a narrative tension that speaks to the universal human experience, the quest for identity in a world that demands both conformity and rebellion. As we reflect on these characters, we must ask ourselves, what survival rules do we live by? Are they helping us become who we want to be, or do they chain us to the shadows of our fears? The journey of Cloud and Sephiroth invites us to examine the weapons we wield in our own lives and whether they serve to protect or to imprison us. In the end, their stories are not just tales of fantasy, but mirrors reflecting our deepest truths. They invite us to consider the narratives we construct to make sense of our personal histories. Just as Cloud grapples with the fragmented memories of his past, we too must navigate the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and who we can become. The selective nature of memory can often distort our self-perception, shaping both our limitations and our potential. Cloud's journey through memory is a vivid illustration of the Enneagram Type 4's struggle with identity. The fragmented recollections of his past, particularly the fabricated memories of friendship and heroism, echo the type's core fear of being without identity or personal significance. This fear drives Cloud to adopt the persona of a hero, a facade that offers temporary reprieve from a deep-seated sense of inadequacy. His journey of integration begins when he confronts the truth of his past, accepting both the parts he admires and those he wishes to hide. In this acceptance, Cloud finds the means to define himself not by borrowed identities but through the authenticity of his own experiences. This pivotal moment marks a shift from a longing for uniqueness to embracing genuine belonging and self-worth. Sephiroth's arc, on the other hand, is a cautionary tale of what happens when the shadow is left unchecked. As an Enneagram Type 3 with a strong 8 wing, his core desire for success and recognition becomes warped into a quest for omnipotence. The dissonance between his human origins and his aspirations of divinity reflects a profound disconnection from his true self. The shadow of shame and deceit, often present in Type 3s when they fail to achieve their lofty goals, envelops Sephiroth, driving him to reject his human vulnerabilities in favor of a godlike identity. This denial of his humanity leads to a spiral of destruction as he attempts to obliterate the very world that reminds him of his perceived inadequacies. Their interactions throughout the narrative serve as a microcosm of the larger thematic elements at play within the universe of Final Fantasy. The struggle between nature and technology, symbolized by the Lifestream and Shinra Corporation, mirrors the internal battles faced by these characters. Cloud's eventual alliance with the Lifestream, representing a return to natural wisdom and instinct, underscores his journey towards self-reconciliation. Conversely, Sephiroth's attempts to dominate the Lifestream embody his refusal to integrate his shadow, choosing instead to impose his will upon the world. In exploring these characters' journeys, we must also consider the roles of auxiliary figures and how they function within this psychological ecosystem. Aerith, embodying the archetype of the mentor and shapeshifter, guides Cloud towards introspection and emotional honesty. Her untimely death crystallizes Cloud's transformation, serving as a catalyst for his acceptance of vulnerability and connection. Aerith's presence, both tangible and spiritual, symbolizes the life-giving force of empathy and compassion, urging Cloud to embrace these qualities within himself. Tifa, as Cloud's grounding force and confidant, exemplifies the archetype of the ally. Her unwavering support and belief in his potential provide a safe space for Cloud to explore his identity beyond the confines of his self-imposed limitations. Tifa's loyalty acts as a stabilizing anchor, illuminating the path toward emotional resilience and authentic expression. The wider narrative of Final Fantasy VII, with its interwoven tales of personal and collective redemption, challenges us to reflect on the nature of power and its impact on identity. The existential question of what it means to truly live resonates deeply with the human psyche. As we journey alongside Cloud and Sephiroth, we are reminded of our own capacity for transformation and the potential for growth that lies within our struggles. In closing, the stories of Cloud and Sephiroth are enduring allegories of the human condition. They compel us to confront our shadows and examine the narratives we cling to, urging us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world we inhabit. By embracing the complexity of our inner landscapes, we unlock the potential for profound change and the realization of our truest selves. Through their trials and triumphs, we find the courage to forge our own paths, grounded in authenticity and guided by the light of self-awareness.